All right, trigonometry, let's crush these graphs. First of all, I've got three, how many problems? Three, 1, 2, 3. I got 3 graphs ready to go here, and I think I'm going to hit everything in doing these graphs. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to be on the lookout for the A, the B, the C, and the D. So in this first function, y equals 1 sine of pi x plus pi. So our A value is 1, which means our amplitude will be 1, and it's a positive 1. B is equal to pi, which means that our period is going to change because the period is found by taking 2 pi and dividing by the B value, in this case pi. So our period here will be 2 units long. Next, we've got this quantity, bx minus c, that we will be setting equal to 0 in order to find the phase shift. There we go. So pi x plus pi equals 0, pi x equals negative pi, divide by pi, x equals negative 1. So our phase shift is going to be taking us 1 unit to the left. Remember, if we have a phase shift, that dictates where we will start our graph. So, because our period is 2 units long, let's for sure chart this x-axis in terms of halves. So 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2, 2, 2 and 1/2, 3, negative half, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 2. So remember, try to keep your x-axis as precise as possible. That's going to make your graphs look a lot better. And again, our amplitude is 1. This is a sine curve. And our sine curve normally starts at the origin. But since we have a phase shift 1 to the left, our curve will be starting at negative 1. Also, because this is a sine curve, since we're on the midline here, the x-axis is the midline, so our total period is 2 units. So negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. So that means our curve will be finished, one period will be finished at positive 1, which then right in the middle between those 2 points will be the middle midline crossing. Since our A is 1, we are going to be going up 1, and I will put in my auxiliary line at positive 1 and negative 1. That tells me where my maxes and mins are going to go. So up to a max and then down to a min. So once we get that period plotted, then we can put in a whole lot more points and we can have a nice filled in graph. So here is our graph. There you go. Y equals 1 sine of pi times x plus pi. Next, y equals 2 sine 2x minus 1. So in this function, we've got an A value of 2. We've got a D value of negative 1. So let's utilize that information first, and let's put in, first of all, our new midline. Remember, the D value always tells us where the midline is. So we're going to have a midline here at negative 1. The entire graph is going down 1 unit. So I'm drawing in my auxiliary midline here. And we're going to have an amplitude of 2, which means that we're going to be going up to above the midline. And I'm using my ruler to try to just keep this as precise as possible. And we'll also be going down 2 units below the midline. So next, we have B value. we have a b value of 2. If our b value is 2, we're going to take that and determine our period by dividing 2 pi by 2. Our period is pi units long. No phase shift here because there's no c value. So if our period is pi, then let's certainly go by pi over 4 so we have enough units here to make this as precise as possible. One fourth, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, and 8/4. We can draw several periods if we're going in both directions here. So here we go. So again, this is the sine curve. Close your eyes, visualize the sine curve. The sine curve normally starts at the origin. We do not have a phase shift, but we do have a d value of -1. So instead of starting at the origin, we will be starting at -1. Again, this is the sine curve with a period of pi units long. So this is my beginning, this is my end, this is my middle, and then finally our a value is +2, so we will be increasing out of the gate, so up and then down. So this is all the information we need to finish this off. We can graph the rest of these points up to a max, down to a midline, down to a min, up to the midline, back to a max, and then going in the other direction to the min, to the midline, to the max, to the midline, and we can draw a really nice looking sine curve here. Nice and smooth, nothing jagged. I've got my x-axis and my y-axis labeled appropriately. There you go. There is y equals 2 sine of 2 times x minus 1. Our last function here is a cosine function, and in this one, a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 1. If b is equal to 1, that means my period is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. But we do have a c value here. We do have a phase shift. So take that entire quantity, x minus pi over 4, set it equal to 0, x equals pi over 4. So we're moving pi over 4 units to the right. And of course, we have a d value of +1. So we have a vertical shift up 1. That means a new midline. So the midline right here at +1. I'm going to draw in my auxiliary midline to help with my graphs. My a value is 1, so I'm going to highlight in my min and max values. My minimum values are all going to be right on the x-axis, which is just simply down 1. And my max values are going to be at 2. Remember, the amplitude tells you the height of the crest or the depth of the trough. So now that we've got our auxiliary lines set up for our max values and our min values, we need to look at our scale on our x-axis. Remember, our phase shift is pi over 4 units to the right. So we're going to start at pi over 4, and if our period is 2 pi, we need to add 2 pi to pi over 4. So pi over 4 plus 2 pi. That means pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4, which is 9 pi over 4. So we're going to be starting at pi over 4, and we'll be finishing our period at 9 pi over 4. So that's going to dictate how we label our x-axis. So pi over 4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, and 9/4. Go in the other direction. There we go. So now we've got our x-axis labeled, so let's start graphing. So once again, visualize the cosine. The cosine normally starts at a max value on the y-axis at 1. But our midline is up 1, so that's increasing that. So we're going to be starting at 2 for our max value. We're going to be starting at up 2, but over our phase shift, pi over 4. So from here, remember we go from max to max, and of course we're going max to max because our a value is 1. If our a value is negative, we would be reflected horizontally. So starting at pi over 4, finishing at 9 pi over 4. So this is a max, this is a max, which means right in the middle has to be a min. So count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. There is a min value of 5 pi over 4. Then our midline crossings are going to be right in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, midline crossing, 1, 2, midline crossing. Then we can go in this other direction, 1, 2, midline crossing, 1, 2, min, 1, 2, midline crossing. So from here, we can draw a nice looking cosine graph. There we go. That is y equals the cosine of 1x minus pi over 4 plus 1.